9 years, and we have never slept under the same blanket. Our first night, I reached over and found there were two. One for her, one for me. Same bed, two blankets, a strip of bare sheet between them, the width of my hand. I lay in the dark and decided she was already leaving. I'm Nick. She's Anke. I moved here for a job 3 years before I met her. American, German, one flat in Cologne, 9 years. In 9 years, she has never once told me something I wanted to hear unless it also happened to be true. Everybody warned me about the country. Nobody warned me about the marriage. I did not marry Germany. I married one very specific woman. There is a registry office in this story, where I answered a question nobody had asked me. And there is that strip of bare sheet, which I fought for 9 years. Stay to the end, and I will tell you what it is actually for. Also, every morning at 20 to 7, my wife opens every window in this flat wide. In January, 10 minutes, on a watch that used to belong to her mother. She has a reason. It is a better one than mine. For years, I went around behind her, closing them again, and I never said a word about it. That is the part that almost finished us. It starts with a jacket, and a question I should have known better than to ask. There was a dinner, her department, and my whole job that night was to not embarrass her. So I bought a jacket. Gray, expensive, 40 minutes in the shop. Then I came out of the bedroom and did the thing. Arms out. Chin up. Well, she did not put the earring down. She said, "No, the gray is wrong. It makes you look tired. Wear the blue one. The blue one is good." I said, "So you hate it?" She said, "I do not hate it." I said, "The blue one is better." Those are two different sentences. 2 weeks later, I cooked. 4 hours. Flour on my forehead, a cookbook against a jar. I put the plate down like a trophy. She ate 3 bites. She said, "There is too much salt. The meat is very good. Do not make the potatoes again." I asked if that was everything. She said, "I can keep going." And I lost it. Not about the sauce, about the jacket and every honest answer I ever asked for. My voice went up half an octave. "Why would you say that?" She waited until I was done. She always waits until I am done. Then, honestly confused, "You asked?" So I answered. The other choice is to say, "It is fine." Fine is what people say when they have not looked. I had not asked a question. I had asked to be soothed. I wore the blue one, obviously. At the dinner, 3 different people told me the jacket looked great. 3. I counted. I believed none of them, because great is free. 7 hours later, she opened every window in the flat, and I decided to handle that one quietly. The first time I said anything about it, she did not stop moving. She said, 10 minutes. Then I closed them, put on a sweater. That February, it hit -8. I lay there with the blanket over my nose, watching my own breath. And the second she got in the shower, I closed the bedroom window. Quiet. Both hands. Like a man cracking a safe. After that, I got good at it. Shower, window shut, downstairs for bread, window shut. I could do the kitchen and the bathroom in 11 seconds. And every time she came through and opened them again. No shouting, the flat needs the air. It is my flat too. Then I got a cold. A real one. I came into the kitchen wrapped in a blanket and told her she was freezing me out of my own home. She said, "You got it on the tram." Then she knelt down and pulled a second pair of socks onto my feet. Then she showed me a photo on her phone. Black. a shape the size of a door, behind where her wardrobe used to stand. She said, "In my old flat, I did not open the windows. I lived in front of that for 2 years and did not know." Then she put the phone face down. She said, "It is not the window that makes me angry. You closed it and you did not tell me. If you disagree, say it out loud. I can work with that. I cannot work with a man who waits for me to leave the room." I do not argue with her. I go around her. That night, the strip of bare sheet between our two blankets was wider. Neither of us moved into it, so I decided to fix it with my hands. I took 2 days off work and started building the kitchen cabinets she asked about twice last winter. I did not tell her either. In our 3rd year, I hung the kitchen cabinets myself. Concrete walls. She had already got a price from a guy who would do it in an afternoon, and I wanted it to be me. I hung them 4 centimeters lower than the plan. She is not tall, and she has never once said so. On the 2nd day, the top door swung back and split the nail on my middle finger. I sat on the floor and held it and told nobody. Then I hung the last 2. Then I swept, flattened the boxes, wiped every door twice, and sat down facing the hallway. She got in at 6:10. She put a bag of oats in the cabinet by the window and said, "There is no bread." I circled my own kitchen like a guy hunting for his keys. I said, "So? Nothing? It is fine. The door on the left needs a longer screw. I will get the right one Saturday." 2 days, 4 drill bits, 1 dead fingernail. It is fine. I carried that for a week. Then we had a different fight about whether I promised to be home at 7, and I reached back and threw the cabinets at her. 2 days of my life, a split fingernail, and nothing. I said, "Most people say thank you." She opened the left door, the one missing the longer screw, and let go. It sagged. She closed it. If they were crooked, I would have told you. Nothing wrong is the whole compliment. That is the only kind anyone in my house ever handed out. She finished the sentence and went back to her papers. It took me another 6 years to understand. "It is fine" is the best grade she gives. She never mentioned the height either. 6 years later, I watched her take a jar off the top shelf without the stool, and I decided that was worth 2 days and a fingernail. What I did get that night was smaller. If I wanted my wife to say a thing out loud, I had to hand her something she could not walk past. 3 days later, I handed her one by accident. It was a yogurt cup. That Thursday, I cleared the table in 9 seconds. 5 bins under our sink, and I only ever aimed at one of them on purpose. Yogurt cup with the foil still crimped on it, first bin. Pizza box with half the cheese welded to the bottom, straight in with the paper. I did not look. It was garbage. That is what the containers are for. She was at the table working. She got up, opened the cupboard, and took both of them back out with her bare hands. Not with a cloth. Her hands. She put the cup and the greasy box down on the table between us and said, "Come here." Then she peeled the foil off the lid. The foil is metal. The cup is plastic. The box is 2 things at once. I said, "Anke, it is garbage." She said, "It is not garbage yet." I told her we were standing in our own kitchen, holding a summit about a yogurt cup. I told her it takes forever. It takes 4 seconds. Then, I am not angry with you. I am showing you. She said, "You follow a rule when it costs you nothing. When it costs you something, you decide it does not matter. Today it is a yogurt cup. One day it will not be a yogurt cup." She put the cup upside down on the rack and went back to work. I said out loud, "You are exaggerating." She said nothing, which I now know is what she does when she has decided to wait. I keep my word where it counts. 2 months later, I came home with a bank card with both our names on it. I had not asked her first. So I did the most romantic thing I have ever done. You should be nervous already. I went to a bank and opened us a joint account. I held it up in the kitchen the way you hold up a fish. Everything is ours now. She took it out of my hand and looked at it. Thank you. This was kind. She does not hand those out. Then, no pause. I will not use it. I keep my own account. This is not about love. It is about money. We pay rent by what each of us earns. We split food down the middle. I pay my half on the first. You will never have to ask me. I hated it. For a year, I brought it up once a month. We are married. There is no your money and my money. One night, she put her cup down. If I pay half, I can leave. That is not a threat. That is why I stay. So I said the thing I actually thought. I said, if I lost my job tomorrow, we would split the rent by what we earn. You would pay 90% of it, and you would still call that fair. She did not raise her voice. She turned her left wrist over. My mother was 55. A house, a husband, 2 sons, and no money that was hers. She wanted 1 year on her own. She could not pay for one. She waited 4 more. She tapped the strap. This was the only thing that was hers. This account is not about you. It is about her. Stop asking me to be less careful than she was. She washed both cups and went to bed. I did not answer. That night, I lay on my half of the bare strip and worked out what leaving would cost her. Nothing. That was the point. It took me 5 years. Anke pays her half, so that every morning she is in my kitchen on purpose. That card is still in a drawer. 6 years, never used. What I heard was, make yourself impossible to leave. I started that Sunday, with a shelf. Sunday morning, I woke up happy, which in that flat is the first sign of trouble. She had done the windows at 20 to 7. I had closed 2 of them behind her and felt fine about it. She was in the shower. I put a load of laundry on. I got the drill out. The shelf had been leaning against the wall since Friday. I was whistling. 1 screw in, and the drill died in my hand. She was behind me holding the plug. Today is Sunday. 1 day a week I owe nothing to anybody. That includes you. I said 10 minutes. The wall has been crooked for 40 years. It can be crooked 1 more day. The fridge was empty. I went out. Shutters down, bakery shut at 11. I came back with nothing and announced, you cannot even live here. She did not defend the country. She did not argue. She opened the fridge, looked in once, and told me how it would go. We have eggs, potatoes, and 1 onion. That is dinner. Sit down. Best food I ate that year came out of an empty fridge. 9 at night, the doorbell. The man from downstairs. Cardigan, glasses on a cord, not happy. My laundry, on a Sunday. 4 sentences in, he stopped talking to me and started talking about me, while I stood there. My wife came down the hall and stepped in front of me. She agreed with him first. The machine was ours. It will not happen again. Then she kept going. You rang our bell at 9, and you will speak to my husband, not about him. He went downstairs. Upstairs, she said. He was right, but he will not speak to you like that. That night, the strip of sheet was the narrowest it had ever been. I decided that was me winning, so I started saying I love you 9 times a day. For a year, I said I love you 9 times a day, end of every phone call. Bottom of a text asking her to pick up bread, it was punctuation. Then one evening, about a year in, she answered with, "Get the bread." I went back through the month, call by call, not once. So I asked her, "Sunday, kitchen, apple on the board." She put the knife down flat first, which is how I know a real answer is coming. It is not a comma. I say it when I mean it. I said, "Then say it now." She said, "No, nothing is happening." Then she said, "You say it most when you are afraid. You are asking me to calm you down, and you are calling it love. Say it on a Tuesday when nothing has happened." I had nothing. I stood there holding half an apple. 2 months later, I booked a weekend on the coast. I came home with my coat still on. I showed her the screen. She said, "Which Saturday?" It was already in the hall calendar in her handwriting, from March. Coffee with a woman she teaches with, whose husband had just died. She said, "I promised in March. In June it is still a promise. Move the train. Sunday is empty." I did not want Sunday. I wanted the look on her face. So I said the ugly thing. I said her calendar mattered more to her than I did. She said, "You are asking me to become a person who cancels. The first person that person cancels will be you." I went to bed on my own side of the strip and did not measure it, which for me was progress. It was the cup again, and I still heard a woman being fussy about trash. So I went bigger. I decided to marry her. Here that takes 9 months, 2 stamps on one stamp, and a court office that never meets anybody. To get married here, I needed my birth certificate, with a stamp on it, certifying the stamp, and a translation by a translator, sworn in front of a judge. Then a paper from home swearing I was not already married to somebody else. Then the marriage file went to a court office that decides these on paper and never meets anybody. I said it was insane. It is not insane. It is slow. Give me the envelope. First refusal, wrong translator. Second refusal, a signature on my papers from a man nobody had certified to sign. 8 months. A wedding stuck behind a door with no handle. The third refusal came on a Thursday in January, in a flat with every window open. I read it twice, put it face down, and said, "Let's stop." We fly to Ohio. 20 minutes in a courthouse. My mother makes a cake. I said she was choosing an envelope over me. She put her bag down and said, "I am choosing the door we walk out of. You are choosing the one that is easier tonight." She was still in her coat. She said, "Give me the letter." Then she said, 3 times, and nobody has named the point we failed. That is not a decision. That is a habit. We are not flying to Ohio. Then she went at them. Letters, phone calls at 8 in the morning. Every name written down. I took the other end. My county courthouse in Ohio opens at 3 in the morning our time, so for 6 weeks that is when I got up. She wrote the German half. I wrote the American one. First time in 9 years we were working the same problem from 2 sides. She said, "My mother signed what was put in front of her." I read what I signed. She took the pages to the counter herself. She laid them down flat. "I do not want an opinion. Name the point we failed. Read it to me." The man behind the glass looked at the pages, then went and got somebody else. I put my own stack down next to hers. The cup in the bin. The calendar in March. Same woman. At home, she said one sentence. "They do not decide who my husband is." Then she asked what I wanted for dinner. The wedding date came in spring. 9 months, 3 refusals, 1 woman with a pen. After that, I figured The wedding itself could not possibly go wrong. A month before the wedding, I called my mother in Ohio and gave her Anke's new last name. Mine, Anke had already told me in April that she was keeping her own, and I had filed that under opening offer. I set it in our kitchen like a gift. She cried. I felt like a good man. Then I bought the invitations, 80. Tuesday night at our table, signing every one at the bottom. Mr. and Mrs., my last name. She came in, picked one up, and said, "That is not my name. I am not changing it. I told you already. In April, in the hall, while I was on the phone to my mother. I said, I have thought about that, for 9 years." 9 months she fought that office. Morning slot. Small room, 2 chairs. A man behind a desk with a folder. He got to the name. Before he finished, I answered for her. I said mine. Anke did not look at me. She looked at him. "In the voice you use to correct a room number. No, I am keeping my name." He wrote it down. He did not pause. It took him longer to write it than it took her to say it. She corrected him. Not me. I was sitting right there. We got married. On the steps. At 11:10, I said we could fix the name later. She stopped. My name is on my diploma. It is on 12 years of published work. It is on the door of my office. I am not taking that down for a card. Then she said the part I still hear. She said, "You did not ask me. You announced me. You told your mother who I would be." She was not angry. Then, quieter. "If you decided this one without me, you will decide the next one without me too." I looked for the part where I am the good guy. There is not one. She spent 9 months getting us through that door. I used the first minute on the other side to decide, by myself, who she was. She was right. I did not steal her name. I stole her question. It was January. The windows were open and I did not touch them. And I wanted that noticed too. It was the yogurt cup again. I thought that one was about garbage. That night, the strip of bare sheet between our blankets was the widest it has ever been. I lay on my side of it, working the problem. By morning, I had it. It involved a tape measure and my credit card. So I did what I always do. I fixed it with an object. I went out and I bought one enormous blanket. Big enough for the bed, big enough for 2 people, big enough to cover 9 years of this. I put it on while she was at work. I straightened the corners. And then I sat in the kitchen and waited for her to come home and be moved. She came home, put her bag down, and looked at the bed for a while. Then she pulled the whole thing off and folded it neatly, because she is not a cruel person, and she put our 2 back where they go. And then she said the sentence that ended 9 years of me being wrong about this. I do not want a bigger blanket. I want to sleep. You are not fixing the bed. You are trying to win, and you are doing it while I am asleep. And I finally heard it. Every single thing I had been calling cold was her refusing to let us become one person, one blanket, one account, one name. I had been asking her to disappear, and I had been calling it love. 9 years, 1 blanket, 4 seconds. The next morning I woke up at 22 minutes to 7, and I got up before she did, and I went around this entire flat, and I opened every window in it. All of them, wide, in January. She came out of the bedroom and looked at the open windows. And I said the only sentence I had never said to her in 9 years. I said, "You were right, and I knew it, and I closed them anyway." She looked at me, and she did not say one single word. 9 years ago, that would have taken me apart. That morning, I stood in my own freezing hallway and understood I had just been given the highest mark she gives out. Then she closed them at 4 minutes instead of 10 because I was standing in it with no socks on. She did not explain that. She never has. We still sleep under 2 blankets. The strip is still there, still about the width of a hand. And it took me 9 years to work out what it is for. Nobody in this bed has ever lain awake at 3 in the morning, quietly furious about a piece of fabric, and said nothing about it. It is not a gap between us. It is exactly wide enough to reach across. There is one drawer in this flat I am still not allowed to tidy. So tell me, 2 blankets or 1? And before you answer, be honest about which one of us you would have been in that bed. The one who bought the big blanket, or the one who folded it up and put it away. Next time, Turkey, where a man is handed a cup of coffee with a spoonful of salt hidden in it, and drinking all of it without changing his face is how he gets a wife. Subscribe. I'll see you when the windows are shut.